You? You dare? I won't let you get away with this. Let go of me. Get your filthy hands off me. I couldn't listen anymore. I opened my eyes, scanned my surroundings, picked up an expandable baton from the ground, and brought it down hard on Bronson's bald head. His skin split open instantly, and with a grunt, he collapsed. The remaining lackeys were either kicked off the building or had their heads bashed in during the fight. Anyway, each one ended up worse than the last. After finishing them off, I pulled the terrified, collapsed Isabella into my arms, comforting her softly. Once she calmed down a bit, I carried her to the car and drove back. The police arrived at the scene shortly after. After settling her in, I went to the police station to give a statement. When I saw Isabella again at home, she had completely recovered and had even cooked a large spread of dishes. Honey, wash your hands. It's time for dinner. I stared at her blankly. When did you learn to cook? These few months you weren't here, I also learned to cook, hairstyling, makeup. Now, can I take care of you, okay? She stared at me intently, full of anticipation. I didn't answer her. How could you go there alone just now? Those were animals, a bunch of desperate thugs. Did you even think about the consequences before you went? She placed a large shrimp, my favorite, on my plate and said softly, I didn't think about the consequences of me going, but I knew I couldn't bear the consequences of me not going. I really can't lose you again. You're the only person in this world who can make me feel warm. These days without you, I went back to that cold, icy world. Honey, don't leave me, please. I really can't live without you. I hugged her back, tears unknowingly streaming down my cheeks. That night when we went to bed, she said she wanted to have another child with me. My hand reflexively reached for the disinfectant, but she snatched it away and threw it in the trash. That night, I learned how liberating it could be to let go. Although my life before hadn't been very happy, from now on, Isabella and I would live happily ever after. The end. Her grandfather was gone, her parents weren't around. She couldn't exactly grab a servant and start singing and dancing, could she? Her aloof persona wouldn't allow for such things. So when I wasn't around, not a day went by when she didn't think about my good qualities. It's human nature. The more you miss someone, the more all their positive traits get amplified. Honey, now I think about how good you are every day. I even feel like I can't live without you anymore, Isabella said, looking at me with sincere eyes. I knew she was telling the truth. Her proud nature wouldn't allow her to lie just to please someone. But after hearing her out, not only was I not moved, I still looked at her with a cold expression. Isabella, in my memories of you, there isn't a single shred of warmth or anything touching. In these 6 years of marriage, the most touching thing was you gave me a son. I still remember how small he was back then, so soft to hold. It was my first time being a father. I couldn't kiss him enough. But just after he turned a month old, your father took him to the family estate, saying he was too busy with work to look after a child, and he couldn't let him pick up my poor habits. Honestly, the only thing I've felt since leaving you is relief. I'm not going back, and I'm asking you to let me go. Over these years, I had genuinely given her my heart. If it had just been about her money, if I had acted like her servants, just doing a job for pay, she wouldn't have felt any warmth. The light in Isabella's eyes dimmed progressively as I continued to speak, finally ending in a bitter, wry smile. I always believed that money and power were the highest goals a person could pursue. Before I came here today, I still thought that if I offered you enough compensation, you would come back to me, back to how things were. But honey, I will not divorce you. For the rest of our lives, I will win you back. With that, she left crying. From that day on, Isabella never used her usual tactics to threaten me again. When I returned to work at the university lab, she even donated $20 million worth of equipment and funds. She had a small kitchen set up just for our lab, and every day she had a chef come and cook special meals for us. Moreover, she would visit us every few days, joking with everyone that I was young and needed to be taken care of. I could feel she was different from before. She wasn't cold to everyone anymore and could chat happily with people. But I didn't want to go back to that kind of life because my heart had already fallen for another woman, Sophie Clark. When I was injured, she took such meticulous care of me, gradually warming my thoroughly chilled heart. So now, whenever I saw Isabella, I would bring up the divorce. She wouldn't say anything, just silently take out the food she'd brought and set it on the table, or put the clothes she'd bought for me on me. I would throw all the food into the trash can and the clothes and gifts directly on the floor. Every time, I would anger her so much she'd run off crying. Perhaps because I hadn't seen Sophie Clark for a long time, recently after work, I found myself unconsciously driving to her apartment building. Coincidentally, Sophie was outside, looking like she was waiting for someone. I quickly checked my appearance in the car mirror, got out, and strode towards her. Suddenly, a figure darted past me and threw himself onto her. I rubbed my eyes and saw it was a good-looking young man hugging her tightly. I could clearly hear the sweet nothings they were whispering to each other, yet they were completely oblivious to my presence nearby. Dejected, I walked back to my car and slumped over the steering wheel, trying to get my emotions under control. What's wrong? About to confess your love, only to find out she already has a boyfriend. A sudden voice from inside the car startled me. I looked at the passenger's seat where Isabella had appeared at some point and was momentarily speechless. I didn't say anything and just slumped back over the steering wheel. Why did you fall for her? What does she have that I don't? Isabella's voice suddenly rose, filled with anger and accusation. Perhaps it's because I felt she was too good to me. It had been a long time since I felt someone was so good to me. Thinking back now, I realized it was probably just the professional standard for a private nurse. Silence then filled the car, only the sound of our two breaths audible. Suddenly, a pair of soft hands pulled me into a warm embrace. She kept stroking my back, comforting me. It's all my fault. You gave me all your tenderness, and all you got in return was my coldness and distance. But that time they hurt you, it really wasn't my order. I just told them to bring you back. Later, when he asked for instructions, I just said if he didn't listen, to tie you up and bring you back. I really didn't tell them to break your arms. I looked at Isabella, who was sobbing uncontrollably, my expression cold. Why did they dare to treat me like that? Isn't it because they felt I was insignificant in your heart, that even if they injured me, they'd just have to explain themselves a bit when they got back? I pushed her away, freeing myself from her embrace. Isabella, let's get a divorce. I swear I will never go back to that house for the rest of my life. If you have even a shred of feeling for me, let me go. I'm begging you. She turned away, her expression hidden, and just threw out if you want a divorce, it'll be over my dead body. Then she left. For the next few days, I was in a daze. The lab supervisor noticed I wasn't myself and gave me a few more days off. After sleeping in the hotel for a few days, my spirits finally improved a bit. I decided to buy some ingredients for a really good homemade dinner, planning to treat myself that night. Just after I bought everything and opened my car door, I received a heavy blow to the back of my head. When I woke up, I found myself on the rooftop of an abandoned building. It turned out to be Vic Bronson and his cronies, the ones Isabella had fired after they broke my limbs. They had kidnapped me. I must have been beaten severely while I was unconscious. My whole body ached, but I wasn't tied up. I could still move freely. Luckily, they hadn't noticed I was awake. I continued to feign unconsciousness, partly to look for an opportunity and partly to recover a bit. I was still very dizzy and had to force myself to stay as clear-headed as possible. Hey, Ms. Montgomery? Hello? Ha ha ha. Thanks to you. I'm not much of a person or a ghost these days. Hey, don't hang up so fast. Of course I have something. My life has been pretty tight since you had my arms and legs broken. I was wondering if Ms. Montgomery could spare some. Of course I'm not asking for your money for free. I have something to trade. Your husband is in my hands right now. I've sent you the photos. Don't rush. As long as you give me the money, I won't do anything to him. 100 million in cash. You have to come alone. If you call the police or bring anyone, just wait to collect your husband's corpse. With that, Bronson hung up. In less than an hour, Isabella arrived by car. She came to the rooftop alone. Bronson, you've got a lot of nerve kidnapping someone close to me. Do you know what the consequences will be? I kept my eyes closed so I couldn't see her expression, but I could hear the fury in her voice. It was trembling. Haha, I can barely afford to eat anymore. Do I care about consequences? Who made us like this? I followed you for so many years, always loyal. Wasn't it just an accident that I broke his arms? You showed no mercy and wanted to wipe us out. Loyal? I told you to bring him back, said not to hurt him, but you thugs went all out on my husband. The fact that I let you live was already showing you mercy. Let my husband go with me this time, and I can let bygones be bygones. The money you want is in the car. You can go down and drive it away. I'll call for someone to pick me up in half an hour. Allude. Laugh. We'll take the money, and we'll take you, too. Angelic Ms. Montgomery. If you service us brothers well today, maybe I'll even leave you two with intact corpses. Get her, boys. Do you really think I want to divorce you because of Sophie Clark? In all these years of marriage, have you ever truly treated me like a husband? After we got married, someone involved in nationally significant research projects, a man with a 148 IQ, learned dozens of skills for you, from cooking to hairstyling. For years, I never left your side, revolving around you. And when did you ever care about me? When did you ever give me a kind look? I caught a cold standing in the rain for you, and you were disgusted, afraid I'd infect you. So you isolated me for over a month. Because of your mysophobia, every time we were intimate, I had to disinfect myself, then scrub myself with a brush. If my hand touched anything else, it couldn't touch you. Every time it was in some awkward position. Do you know how humiliating that is? For the sake of the company's interests, you were willing to offer me up to that executive. What do you take me for? In 6 years of marriage, I haven't felt a shred of warmth in this home. I was just upset and went out to clear my head, and you had people break both my arms with batons. I'm scared, Isabella. I'm really scared. I'm terrified that one day, if I displease you, you'll get rid of me for whatever our marriage was worth. Please, let me go, okay? My words were sincere, my attitude utterly humble, just hoping she would soften and let me off the hook. It's not like that, honey. I was just inconsiderate. I thought if I kept you at home, you wouldn't have to work, you'd eat well and live well. That would be better than whatever life you'd have outside. I thought you'd be grateful. Isabella burst into tears and hugged me, her voice incredibly gentle as she tried to explain. I gave a bitter smile. Why would you think someone involved in top-level national research would feel happy just because they have food and drink? We have a dozen major national projects a year. I can eat or drink whatever I want. I stopped working after we got married. Yes, but I was up at 6 every morning and busy until midnight. That's many times more exhausting than my actual job. The money and cars you gave me, I barely left the house once a year. The credit cards were in your room. I never touched a cent. The cars are probably rusting in the garage. I haven't gained anything, only a body full of injuries. What the hell was all this for? Finally, I had the chance to pour out all the grievances I'd bottled up for years. Though tears streamed down my face, my heart felt much lighter. Perhaps hearing me say all this, she finally realized how much I had given and how little I had received in return. This caused a seismic shift in her usual understanding of things. She held me tightly, repeatedly apologizing. I could even feel her whole body trembling. This was how she'd been the day her grandfather died, when she cried and collapsed in my arms. I gently pushed her hands away, wiped my tears, and looked at her with cold eyes. If you truly feel sorry for me, then let me leave. I really don't want to spend another minute in this house. With that, I tentatively started to walk towards the door. She just stood there, hands covering her face, sobbing, making no move to stop me. I went back to my room, took only one of my bank cards. It was all my own money, enough to last me the rest of my life, and left the Montgomery house without taking anything else. The first thing I did was explain the situation to the university. They agreed I could return once my injuries healed. Then I found a hotel to recuperate properly. On the third day at the hotel, around noon, there was a knock on my door. I thought it was the takeout I'd ordered. When I opened it, I was stunned by the scene before me. The hallway outside my room was lined with over a dozen men in wheelchairs, all with their arms and legs broken. At the very front was Vic Bronson. The moment he saw me open the door, he slid out of his wheelchair and threw himself at my feet. Besides his shattered limbs, there wasn't an unbruised spot on him. Mr. Miller. Boss. Dad. You're my real dad. I know I was wrong. I've been punished. Please just forgive me, okay? Otherwise, I'm a dead man. He kowtowed repeatedly as he spoke, groveling. All right, I forgive you all. You can go now. I knew who was behind this, and I didn't want to pursue it. I just wanted nothing more to do with her. The next day, I was in the bathroom brushing my teeth when someone knocked again. This time I checked the peephole and saw it was hotel staff. Before opening the door, a female attendant and a man who looked like a manager walked in. They were exceedingly friendly. Mr. Miller, the room you booked for 6 months, due to hotel renovations, we unfortunately have to move you to another room. I'm an easygoing guy, just changing rooms, what's the big deal? So while the attendant packed my things, I readily went with him to the new room on the top floor. This is the room you're moving me to? Isn't this the presidential suite? I'd traveled on expense accounts before. I'd seen a thing or two. I'd stayed in rooms like this. That's right, Mr. Miller. This is all our hotel's fault, causing you such trouble. So this is our gesture of sincerity. Seeing him spout such blatant lies with a straight face, I almost burst out laughing. It was obvious who was behind the charade again. Well, might as well stay. As long as I didn't have to see her, it didn't matter where I stayed. Then every day, 3 meals a day, staff would wheel in a cart, lift the silver platters, and place an array of expensive dishes on the table in front of me. Might as well eat it. It's free. I'm not one to let pride make me suffer. I regretted not taking the credit card Isabella had given me when I left her house. I never checked the balance, but it was definitely an astronomical sum. She was quite generous with me in her own way. On the third day, a few people dressed as doctors arrived. 2 of them looked familiar. They were from the Montgomery family's private medical team. After giving me a thorough checkup, they concluded I was recovering well, healthy, with no other issues. Just couldn't overextend myself. Basic daily activities were fine. As they were leaving, I quietly pulled one of them aside and asked why Sophie Clark hadn't come. He just gave an awkward smile and didn't answer. On the 4th day, Isabella came herself. I opened the door and let her in. She had reverted to her usual cool, goddess-like CEO demeanor, impeccably dressed and made up in the style I used to do for her. However, she looked a bit unwell, rather haggard. After entering the room, she didn't speak, just walked to the center, scanned her surroundings, and then frowned slightly, as if displeased with something. Tomorrow, I'll send someone over to add some entertainment facilities to the room. What games do you like? As she spoke, she hugged me from behind, rested her chin on my shoulder, and whispered softly into my ear, her breath warm. I struggled a bit, but my arms still weren't strong enough to break free. Have you thought about the divorce? I don't want anything, just my salary card. As I said that, I clearly felt her body tense up, and even her breathing quickened. It seems you haven't cooled down after all these days, honey. I will not divorce you. I came this time to talk to you properly about my side of things. From her account, I learned that Isabella Montgomery, though seen by outsiders as a lofty, adored heiress, also had her hidden secrets. Isabella's parents both came from wealthy families. Their marriage was a strategic alliance between dynasties, devoid of any real affection. Her mother lived with a past love, her white moonlight boyfriend, while her father was far more prolific, spending his days with a string of different women. So before marrying me, Isabella had been very resistant to the idea of marriage, which was why she'd never even had a boyfriend despite her privileged background. Apart from her grandfather, she had never felt loved by anyone. Her parents both had their own separate lives and families, and they couldn't stand each other. Consequently, she, the legitimate daughter, was less favored by her parents than their children born out of wedlock. Therefore, from a young age, she felt she couldn't rely on anyone else. Only money, power, and her career were things that would stay with her for life. So she had always treated everyone as a means to an end. If she was nice to someone, it was because she could use them. If others were nice to her, it was because they could use her. Even when she married me, she still believed this approach was correct, that emotions would only slow down her wealth accumulation. But people, after all, have feelings. They're not cold, hard stones. Especially with me by her side these past few years, my meticulous care had unknowingly allowed her to experience the warmth of a home embrace. That no matter how late she came home, there was always someone there, a bowl of soup, a light left on, waiting for her. When she was troubled by work, there was someone to hold her, guide her, support her. When she was happy, there was someone to share her joy, celebrate with her, go wild with her. When you have this kind of family warmth, you don't think it's anything special, but once you lose it, the feeling becomes much more pronounced. Coming home exhausted after a long day, the servants wouldn't prepare anything special for her. They would just ask what she needed. After a tiring day, she wouldn't wait for them to make her a bowl of soup from scratch. When troubled by work, lying alone in bed, she felt even more helpless. Usually, with my high IQ, I could always come up with good solutions for her. When she was happy, she could only go to the balcony and look at the moon. And you buy me lunch? Is quitting while I'm ahead your generosity? Isn't it exactly overwhelming, is it? You weren't like this before. This was the second time I talked back to her, and she was so angry she was tripping over her words. I can live without spending your money or using your things. But can't you just let me live like a normal person? I don't want to live another day like I used to. She was a smart woman. I didn't need to spell it out, but she still rejected me, her expression blank. No, the Montgomery family has its rules. If people found out you were staying out all night and working outside, where would our family's reputation be? She stood up and gave me a cool, indifferent look. I'll give you 3 days. Get everything sorted and come home obediently. Otherwise, she didn't finish, but it definitely wouldn't be anything good for my physical or mental well-being. Watching her leave, I didn't take her words to heart. I wasn't easily scared. I'd just stay at the university for the next few days. What could she do? I really didn't believe she'd dare to barge in and drag me out. After lunch, I went to buy some daily necessities to take back to the dorm since I rarely had time to go out. 3 days passed in a flash. I was so engrossed in the lab work that I hadn't given her ultimatum a second thought. One day at lunch, the senior lab mate who had helped me at Isabella's company rushed into my office looking frantic. Ethan, bro, I need a huge favor. My niece just called me, said she got hurt playing at a construction site. I can't get away right now. Do you think you could? We had a good relationship, so I agreed without much thought. He gave me the location and I put it into my GPS. As I got closer, something felt off. It was a derelict complex of abandoned buildings. All around were dilapidated structures, their doors and windows already stripped for anything valuable. What would a little girl be doing playing here by herself? This isn't right. I need to get out of here. I just made up my mind and turned to leave when suddenly a dozen burly men surrounded me, slowly closing in. Mr. Miller, Ms. Montgomery requests your presence. Come on, you two have had your little spat for a few days. That's enough. You can't just not come home, right? The speaker was Vic the Bull Bronson, Isabella's head of security. He was a mountainous man, built like a brick outhouse, with a thick neck and a face full of mean-looking muscle. All right, tell her I'll be home tonight. Tell her to be home for dinner. I'll pick up some of her favorite dishes. Haven't seen her in a few days. I actually kind of miss her, huh? I tried to laugh it off, but the grim faces around me showed no one was buying it. Mr. Miller, we all know you're smart, but you can't treat us all like idiots. Either you come with us, or we take you. Your choice. With a nod, he signaled the others to advance on me. These bodyguards were just like Isabella, absolutely no patience. I took off my jacket, loosened my arms and legs, and got into a fighting stance. Well, looks like Mr. Miller wants a spar with us. All right, boys, let's play with him. Ms. Montgomery said, just don't hurt him too badly. Get him, boys. At Bronson's command, the others moved in. All those martial arts I'd learned weren't just for show. Taking down these security guards was almost too easy. As a chorus of pain cries filled the air, Bronson, whose face I'd already pummeled into a swollen mess, looked increasingly furious. He hurriedly called Isabella. When he hung up, there was a new confidence in his eyes. All right, boys, Miss Montgomery has new orders. As long as we don't kill him, it's fine. The main thing is to bring him back. The moment he finished speaking, everyone drew expandable batons from their waists. This just got a lot harder. Every time I threw a punch or a kick, several batons would crash down on my limbs. After a few exchanges, I could barely move. Stop. I'll go back with you. Discretion is the better part of valor, right? I didn't expect that scumbag Bronson to have gotten so riled up by me fighting back. They were used to throwing their weight around under the Montgomery name. When had they ever taken a beating? In your dreams. Ms. Montgomery said he needs to be taught a lesson. Boys, don't stop. Keep hitting him. In the end, they broke both my arms and then dragged me back. When I got home, Isabella wasn't there. Bronson must have reported the situation to her. The moment I walked in the door, the Montgomery family's private medical team was already waiting. My injuries were quickly treated and my arms were put in casts. Their recommendation was 3 months of quiet recuperation at home, no strenuous activity. Then they assigned a young nurse to look after me. When Isabella came home that evening and saw me lying in bed, maybe my eyes were playing tricks on me, but I thought I saw a flicker of pain in her expression. It vanished in the blink of an eye. I guess I was mistaken. I warned you, but you didn't listen. When they came to bring you back, you resisted. If you don't learn your lesson the hard way, you'll never behave." With that, she handed the insulated container she was carrying to the young nurse. "This is a nutritional meal I ordered for you from that hotel. It's best to eat light while you're injured. You can feed it to him." The young nurse took it, opened it, and began feeding me spoonful by spoonful. I was completely disillusioned with Isabella now. I looked at her like she was a stranger. For now, the priority was to recover, so I didn't make a fuss and ate everything. Isabella stayed by my side the whole time, watching, but I didn't give her a single glance. Seeing my coldness, she didn't say anything more to provoke me, just told the young nurse to take good care of me and left. The young nurse's name was Sophie Clark. She had just been hired by the Montgomery family this year. She was tall, but with a very innocent and pure face, the kind of face that reminded every man of his first love. Once the anesthetic wore off, my arms throbbed with excruciating pain, but seeing her pure face and sweet smile, I felt the pain less. Sophie was an excellent caregiver. Not only was she beautiful, but her voice was also lovely. Combined with her youthfulness, she exuded a special kind of vitality. Because my hands were immobile, she had to sponge bathe me, feed me, and help with everything else I couldn't do. I found that we had a lot to talk about, and I could always make her laugh with delight. It's a dangerous game comparing people. One person takes meticulous care of you and talks with you endlessly every day. The other, you cater to her every need day in and day out, and she looks at you like you owe her $1,000,000. This comparison made my heart ache. My wife of 6 years was less caring and understanding than a young nurse. Now, every day when Isabella came home, she would bring me a small gift, small but still quite valuable. I just pretended not to see them and didn't want to say a single word to her. One afternoon, I had just woken up from a nap and felt someone massaging my shoulders. I naturally assumed it was Sophie. "Sophie, what do you want for dinner tonight? My right hand is recovering well. For my grand return to the kitchen, I'll cook for you." After a moment with no response, the pressure of the massage on my shoulders increased. "Why aren't you saying anything, Sophie? Is something wrong? How about this? You rest for a bit. I'll go whip up something delicious, and then this afternoon I'll take you to the aquarium. How about that?" With that, I swung my legs over the side of the bed. When I saw who was actually beside me, I was so startled I almost lost my footing. I tried to steady myself as naturally as possible. "What are you doing home in the middle of the day?" Even to my own ears, my voice sounded shaky. The person massaging me was none other than my wife, Isabella. Her face was grim, and her eyes seemed to have something shiny in them. It probably wasn't tears. I'd only seen her cry once, at her beloved grandfather's funeral. "What? Am I interrupting something?" "Sophie, Sophie." You say her name so affectionately." Isabella's face was so dark that it looked like it was about to drip water. She clenched her fists, looking like someone was about to have a very bad day. Since it had come to this, I figured I might as well go all in. Both my arms were broken by my wife's people, and nobody cared, nobody asked. She's the only one who's shown me any concern. What's wrong with me being nice to her? Then I looked her straight in the eye and said seriously, "Isabella, I'm truly sick of this life. Let's get a divorce." Hearing this, Isabella's mind went blank, as if struck by lightning. It wasn't that she couldn't live without me, but she was simply shocked that I was the one initiating the divorce. After a long pause, she finally spoke. "You want to divorce me for a little nurse? What does she have that I don't?" Isabella finally cracked. She yelled at me. Her usual proud, strong self, who always demanded not to lose to anyone, was shattered today. Her husband wanted to divorce her for a nurse. This was the biggest blow to her. I slowly walked over to her. Since the unspoken had been said, I thought it was better to lay everything bare. She'd had a bit too much to drink and latched onto me the moment she saw me. Back then, I hadn't started training in all those martial arts, and I was momentarily at a disadvantage. She took quite a few liberties. Isabella had been standing right there, watching it all as if I were a complete stranger. Today, she wanted me to entertain her. Well, now I could settle some scores. Perhaps sensing the fury in my eyes, Isabella added, "You absolutely must ensure she's well taken care of. If she decides to zone the land next to our real estate projects for something that increases property values, it's just a word from her." With that, she drove me to the most exclusive restaurant in town. Then, ignoring the way the female official's eyes lit up when she saw me, Isabella just said she had other business and left without a backward glance. But I wasn't a lamb to the slaughter anymore. Actually, this woman was pretty straightforward. I threw an arm around her shoulder and called her sis. Long time no see. I miss you like crazy. Tonight, if one of us isn't under the table, we're not real friends. She blinked, then burst out laughing. Anything else, maybe not. But if it's drinking, I'll let you call and back up now. If you say that, I can't just back down. And just like that, we each polished off a bottle of whiskey and 2 bottles of red wine. We both ended up under the table. When I woke up at home the next morning, the first thing I saw was Isabella, her face a thundercloud. What happened with you yesterday? How did you get a department head that drunk? When they pulled you two out from under the table, you were both crying and swearing you were brothers for life. I rubbed my eyes and looked at her seriously. If I hadn't drunk her under the table, do you know what she would have done? Or rather, you knew what she wanted to do, which is why you sent me, right? Isabella, usually so assertive, turned her head away, unable to meet my eyes. What could she, a woman, do to you as a man? What could you possibly lose? Besides, if I don't care, what do you have to be uptight about? You lounge around at home all day doing nothing. If you're not even useful for this, what do I need you for? This was the first time I'd ever heard a hint of guilt in her voice. I shook my head and chuckled. Yeah, Ms. Montgomery doesn't care, so what do I have to be uptight about? I'm up at 6 every morning and busy until midnight. Is that your definition of doing nothing? Perhaps because I'd never spoken harshly to her before, she glared at me defiantly. You're doing the work of maids, nannies, and bodyguards at home. Don't you see how much money I give you? How many gifts, how many luxury cars I buy for you? You give me all that money, but don't let me buy anything. All those luxury cars, but you don't let me go out. What's the difference between giving them to me and not? All right, I see. I've been too good to you. You've forgotten your place in this family. Today, you stay home and reflect on yourself. If you think the money in your account and the cars in the garage are the same whether you have access to them or not, then let's just cut them all off. With that, she stormed out. Watching her leave, I thought about my life these past 5 years. To outsiders, I was the enviable son-in-law of the Montgomery family, but only I knew what kind of life I was actually living. My previous research projects in college alone could have given me a vibrant and fulfilling life. Now, I was like a dog locked in a cage. Not only did I have to guard the house and do my job every day, but I also had to constantly please my owner to keep her happy. I thought about it all day and couldn't understand why I was living such a tiring life. All this effort, and I was the only one moved by it. In everyone else's eyes, it was just what I was supposed to do. From today on, I was done with the pre-dawn to post-midnight grind, running around like crazy catering to others. Over the years, I'd managed to save a little. I bought a regular car and started going out early and coming home late. I was either drinking with friends I hadn't seen in years or going fishing or playing some ball. By the time I got home each day, Isabella would already be asleep. Her schedule was meticulously organized. She was a very self-disciplined, tough woman. I didn't want to disturb her, so I started sleeping in a separate room. Once I came to terms with certain things, my whole demeanor changed. I was no longer the person constantly rushing, practically jogging everywhere, because there was never enough time. Now I was much more cheerful and outgoing. The smile I'd lost had returned to my face. I got in touch with my old professors and told them I wanted to come back and continue working on research projects with them. They were thrilled and readily agreed, knowing my capabilities. After about a month of this comfortable new routine, I came home late one night and saw Isabella still sitting on the sofa. Usually, she'd be asleep by this time. Even the household staff had already retired. I saw her and said, "Still up?" without pausing on my way to my room. "Haven't you had enough of your tantrum? You're out early and back late every day. Do you think this house is a hotel? Do you even see me as your wife anymore?" As she spoke, her chest heaved dramatically as if she'd suffered some terrible injustice. I ignored her, opened my door, and went straight in my room. As I expected, Isabella didn't follow me or press the issue. For someone as proud as her, speaking up first was already a huge concession. The next few days were incredibly busy at the university lab, so I just started staying in a dorm room on campus. The first night, I didn't come home. I was jolted awake early the next morning by my phone ringing. Groggy, I answered. It was Isabella. Though her tone was calm, I could hear her heavy breathing. "Well, you're certainly getting bold, aren't you? Now you dare to stay out all night. Are you calling about something important?" I'm really busy right now. I don't have time for pointless arguments. How dare you speak to me without a tit? Seriously, what the hell is wrong with you? I hung up. So what if the Montgomery family had connections everywhere? I was at a top-tier research university, and many of the lab's projects were federally funded key initiatives. So right now I wasn't worried about what she might try to do. Once awakened, I couldn't fall back asleep. I got washed up and went downstairs, planning to grab breakfast before heading to the lab. As soon as I got downstairs, I saw Isabella waiting there. I pretended not to see her, looked down, and tried to slip away around the other side. I hadn't taken more than a few steps before Isabella grabbed my wrist. Stayed out all night, and now you pretend you don't see me? Ethan Miller, you've really grown some nerve. Do you think just because you're not spending my money and hiding out at the university, I can't do anything to you? I knew her too well. If she was saying this, she definitely had something planned. I didn't want to provoke her. It wouldn't do me any good. I've been extremely busy these past few days. The project is at a critical stage, so I haven't been home, and I'll need to stay here for a while longer. Did you need something? Yes, it's urgent. Come with me quickly. Without giving me a chance to refuse, she dragged me in her car. Half an hour later, we arrived at her company's headquarters. It turned out her company had been hit by a cyber attack from foreign hackers. All their computers were down, and her own tech team couldn't handle it. This wasn't my area of expertise, so I immediately called for backup. Our university was a hub for top talent from all across the country. One call, and a senior lab mate quickly arrived with a team. A few hours later, the problem was solved. Isabella paid them a generous fee and gave them handsome gifts. I'd helped her out with similar situations quite a few times before. Just as I was about to leave with my lab mate, Isabella called out to me. She asked me to have lunch with her. I asked if my lab mate could join, but he just smiled at me and politely declined. We went to a very upscale restaurant. Isabella didn't even glance at the menu the server handed her. She ordered with practiced ease. It looked like she ate here often. Today, she was as elegant and beautiful as ever. Even in such a high-end establishment, diners all around us kept casting glances her way. The food arrived quickly. She looked at me and asked, "How's the taste?" "Not bad. About the same as my cooking," I replied casually after a bite, though honestly, it wasn't as good as mine. "While you've been away, I've been eating all my meals here. Over the years, I've gotten used to your cooking. I've tried many places, but none of them taste like yours. This one is the closest." Her voice was uncharacteristically gentle. I didn't respond, just kept eating the food in front of me. I hadn't had breakfast and was starving. Seeing my lack of reaction, she put down her chopsticks and wiped her mouth, having barely touched her food. "I'm telling you, you'd better quit while you're ahead. My patience is limited. Ms. Montgomery, what exactly am I ahead on? I did you a huge favor. My wife, she's drop-dead gorgeous, seriously. Even A-list celebrities would look plain standing next to her. The phrase angelic beauty must have been coined just for her. You might wonder why she isn't an actress. That's because she wouldn't stoop to it. She's from one of America's wealthiest old money families, with assets in the billions, influential across the globe. Lately, though, she's been incredibly stressed out because I'm trying to divorce her. At first, a lot of people try to talk me out of it. Dude, you can't even call this living. Offer this is like being fed gourmet pureed food. Safe, nutritious, easy on the stomach, and perfectly digestible. Isn't that the dream? Then I told them why, and they all looked at me with pity, patted my shoulder in sympathy, and then clambered up. When my wife, Isabella Montgomery, was 23, the pillar of the Montgomery family, her grandfather fell gravely ill. It was clear he didn't have long. His biggest worry was that his most beloved granddaughter hadn't ever had a boyfriend. If he could just see her married, he'd be able to pass on peacefully. Isabella had never dated anyone in her life. There were even rumors she was a lesbian. She was universally known as the Ice Queen. Don't let her cold demeanor towards everyone, including her own parents, fool you. She was exceptionally devoted to the grandfather who had always doted on her. While other little girls were still clinging to their parents, she was already attending business meetings and high society galas with her folks. So, growing up immersed in it, she'd become an elite among business elites, sharp, decisive, always calculating how to maximize profit. Marriage was no different. She actually organized a citywide casting call to choose her husband. In her mind, emotions didn't factor in for anything. You just picked the best available option. My roommate insisted on dragging me along with him. I told him I already had a girlfriend. He said that was exactly why I had to go with him. Otherwise, a tall, handsome, well-built, sunny guy like me, he'd have to be crazy to bring me to a husband audition to steal his thunder. Actually, it wasn't just my height and good looks. My 148 IQ was what I was truly proud of. I wasn't even out of college yet, and I was already discussing research topics and participating in experiments with my professors. Holy cow, the casting call was packed. I spotted several top pop idols and young heartthrobs, some rugged types, others more delicate. I glanced at my rather unremarkable roommate beside me. Are you sure you want to set yourself up for humiliation? He just shrugged. How will I know if I don't try? What if she's into my type? I just love your shamelessness. I mean your never give you up attitude. I rolled my eyes at him and headed straight for the high-end buffet. See, that's my high IQ at work. Fill up on the expensive seafood I couldn't normally afford, then see if there were any freebies or gift bags to snag. Might as well not leave empty-handed. I didn't give a damn about the actual selection. The guys here were either 09 million types from prominent families or exceptionally talented and good-looking. My roommate's family was modestly well-off, barely entry-level. He didn't tick any of the other boxes. His chances of getting picked were slimmer than getting struck by lightning walking down the street. By the time I'd eaten my fill, the first round was over. The host announced that the Montgomery family had been observing from above and had already made their initial cuts. Anyone whose looks weren't up to par had been axed. Unsurprisingly, my roommate was eliminated. Just as I was about to leave with him, a few security guards stopped me. "Excuse me, sir, you've been selected. You can't leave until the second round results are out." I was speechless, pointing a finger in my own face in disbelief. "Yes, that's right, sir," a bodyguard in a black suit and sunglasses said respectfully. I looked over at my roommate. His face was a shade greener than if he'd swallowed a pile of, well, you get the picture. "Hey, maybe you should head back first," I said, trying to placate him. "I'll probably just grab another plate. Explain to my girlfriend Sarah that I was just here with you. I'm sure I'll be cut next round." After all, I'd mooched off in college for the past couple of years. So those of us who made it to the next round were put up in a 5-star hotel. They took our phones for the next few days. It was just eat, sleep, repeat. Life wasn't too bad, actually. On the 5th day, we were taken to a massive villa, or maybe an estate would be a more fitting description. I noticed a lot fewer people. There were only about 20 of us left. Turns out I'd advanced again. Apparently, while we were cooped up in the hotel, the Montgomery family had thoroughly vetted everyone. All the playboys with messy private lives and anyone with any other blemishes on their record had been eliminated. I couldn't believe that a regular broke college student like me had somehow made it to the final round. The next step was for us to live there for a month so they could observe our daily habits. Anyone can put on an act for a day or two, but over a month, it's inevitable that some issues will surface if you're not careful. My lifestyle was pretty disciplined, actually. First, because I was a student. Second, because I was broke. Smoking, drinking, clubbing. I didn't have the cash to develop those habits. So my time was usually spent studying, working out, and looking after my roommates and my girlfriend. This month, then, besides reading and exercising, I mostly kept my room and the common areas tidy. It was a pretty fulfilling routine. A month later, I was escorted into a car and taken to City Hall. Isabella Montgomery was waiting there. She grabbed my arm and started pulling me inside, not a hint of unfamiliarity about her. "Well, what's going on?" I stammered, completely bewildered. "Congratulations, you've been selected. We're registering our marriage right now." Isabella spoke without a trace of emotion, her pace unwavering as she dragged me further in. "Are you kidding me? I have a girlfriend. I only came here with my friend in the first place. You've made a mistake." I stumbled along, yanking my arm free. She handed me a smartphone. "You don't have a girlfriend anymore, and you won't need any friends from now on. You can also drop those research projects at school. In the future, just stay home and be a good, dutiful husband." I opened the video on the phone she gave me. It was Sarah, my girlfriend, standing next to a famous male pop star, Ethan. "Let's break up. I'm with him now," she said, gesturing to the pop star. Ms. Montgomery also gave me a lot of money, and she promised to help launch my career. Then she and the pop star wrapped their arms around each other and started making out passionately. I glared at Isabella, furious. What are you glaring at? Am I not 1,000 times better than her? I have to admit, her presence was formidable, intimidating me into obediently going through with a marriage certificate. Everyone envied the lavish life I was about to step into, but for me, it felt more like being locked in a cage. After getting the marriage certificate, while her grandfather was still lucid, we had a grand wedding. On our wedding night, I discovered she had a severe case of mysophobia. First, she subjected me to a full-body disinfection, then a steam session, and finally she meticulously scrubbed me down with a brush from head to toe before she'd let me near her. Furthermore, if my hand touched anything else, I couldn't touch her again. Throughout the entire act of intimacy, that hand had to be held high up, far away from her body. Initially, I was very interested in her perfect figure and angelic face, but after all her fussing, I lost all interest. The very next day, she brought in gourmet chefs, one specializing in French cuisine and another in Italian, to teach me how to cook. No honeymoon after the wedding. I could let that slide. But me, a genius with a 148 IQ, you want me to learn to cook? Soon I had mastered fine cooking. Then it was landscape design and maintenance, hairstyling and makeup artistry, winemaking and sommelier skills, high-fashion wardrobe management and care, full-body massage therapy, pet care and training, advanced driving and auto mechanics, and then kickboxing, taekwondo, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, boxing. Was she planning on giving all the household staff, bodyguards, and the butler a permanent vacation now that I was here? Once Isabella took me to a cocktail party where I saw a world MMA champion. I actually felt an urge to go up and spar with him. At that moment, I felt terrifyingly strong. Life over the past 5 years of marriage had been well-packed. From waking up to make her breakfast right through to our nightly homework at midnight. Afterward, I still had to clean up the battlefield. She hated a messy bed. In our 2nd and 4th years, we had 2 sons. Before they were even a month old, they were taken to the main family estate to be raised. I only got to see them on holidays, and when they did see me, they looked at me like I was a stranger, less familiar to them than one of the nannies. One day, with her usual detached expression, she said to me, "Haven't you always wanted to work at the company? The head of urban planning is coming to the office today for a consultation. You'll be in charge of receiving her." I'd met this head she was talking about, a woman built like a linebacker, 6 feet tall, with a fierce, fleshy face. It was at another party.